So today we will talk about the variables. We'll see that how the variable works in Appian and how do we declare the variables. And also we'll see that, how do we, use multiple variables, like if it's an array, how it will work, how we can pull the function from an array to the required information. Okay. So I'm going to create one expression rule. This expression rule is basically, will help you to understand the logic of the variables. And we can also declare the variables inside the interface. But interface object is, you can say that it is a combination of both expression rule and then interface design that can be designed there. Sample rule one. Oh, variables class. Okay. So first of all, in initial days, there were two functions, load and width, which has been now deprecated, and then they have replaced this function with called local variables. So initially, load and width two function was used to declare the local variables where we declare the variables. The difference was that load, the variable, whatever variable we will declare, was used to be as a static values, and then inside the width, if you are declaring any variable, then it was treating as a dynamic values that it will refresh automatically whenever a form will refresh. But now they have deprecated those load and width, and they have come up with the new function called local variable function. So this is the local variable functions which we will use to declare any variables that will be used in our system. And let's see how do we declare the variables. So first of all, if you want to understand, if you want to learn about any of the function, right, and if you don't remember that thing, you can simply click inside the parenthesis, and below you can see the description window, and it gives you the total clear clarification of your what this function does. Okay. So as this local variable function is used to declare the variables, we will start declaring variables. Let's say I'm going to declare a variable called local bank X. This exclamatory notation in Appian we used to call it as a bang, B-A-N-G. So this is how we declare the variables, and then it's the local X. So it declares just a variable called local X. Now, if I go to assign any value to it, I just put a colon symbol and then assign to 10. Now, this particular variable will start treating as integer. We do not have to declare the type of it. Whenever we are declaring a local variable, we do not have to define the type. So if I click on the text tool, you will see that it will simply return the 10, and you'll see that's a number integer. Okay. Now, same way, if I declare a local variable called local bank Y, okay, and I am going to assign a value here within the double quotes, I'll say Ram. Right, and instead of this X, if I go to return Y, then it says that I need to put a comma. So I need to click on text tool, it says Ram, and it's a text. So whenever we need to declare a variable, we do not have to define a type unless we need to declare it a particular type. Let's say I would like to declare a local variable of a type of a CDT. On that other day, we have seen that how do we use that, right? We use the type bang operator, and then we declare that variable as a CDT type. Okay, so now this is a X, this is a Y. We haven't given the type of here, like it is integer or text. So whatever value we will assign, it will start rating according to that. Now let's say I would like to merge the value and then return the text. I say local Y, and then I put an ampersand, and I'll say space is space, and then again ampersand. I'll say local bank X. Can anyone tell me what could be the output?
Age is 10.
Yeah, so it will say Ram age is 10. So we can also merge the variable by using the ampersand operator. This is one of the way, and other way is the concat function. So we have a concat function. So here I'll just concat local bang Y. I'll concat space is space, and then I will concat local bang X. If you do like this, this is also going to return you the same result. Okay, so either you use ampersand symbol or you can also use the concat function to concatenate the text. Okay, all right. Any question, any doubt here? How do we declare type, I mean variables, local x and y?
So a bang local variable, is that the syntax?
Yeah, this is a bang local variable. So all of the people functions that we are going to use, that will require a bang, and you do not have to remember this at all. Let me tell you, show you how. Let's say I don't remember the what is the prefix it is going to be, either a bang or fn bang. What's, I don't remember. I'll just say local variable. I just type the name, just hit tab. It will
Oh,
automatically take this a bang. Okay, you do not have to remember this.
got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So to create a local variable, we have to declare in sample. It's a rule, right?
I mean,
It's
this
a
is an
rule.
expression rule. This is an expression rule that we have created to show you how we declare the variables and how do we work it. You can also declare the variables inside the interface rule. So you can create an interface rule and you can do it there. See, expression rules are just an editor which allow you to perform certain tasks, like suppose addition, subtractions. You can create a function out of this expression editor. Let's say you are going to pass two numbers to this, but any rule that you have created, and you want to get the addition of it. So you will make this parameterized, you will create some rule inputs, and then you will pass two numbers to it, and it will return the result. We'll come to that. I'll show you how do we make it parameterized, how do we create a rule inputs and work it out, right? So this is just for the local variables. How do we work on with the local variables? Okay, is
Can
that
I
clear?
use this?
Yeah.
Can I use this variable in interface also, or it will be used in rule this expression rule
No,
only?
local variables are locally wherever this local variable function has been declared, and inside that, if you are going to use anything, it will be only available to this bracket. It can't be
Okay.
used outside of it
Hmm.
because it's a local variable. Okay.
Okay. So I want to use one variable throughout an application. So I have to use in interface. I have to use in any rule.
So
And, is it possible?
yeah. So you have, what you have to do is that all the interface rule, whenever you create an interface object, all those interface code that you will write inside this local variable function inside this one.
Okay.
So if you do like that, then this variable will be available to in all the places. So like, if you have, this is an interface rule, you start designing your interface code from here, right?
Hmm.
So it's like this. Now here you have interface code, and then this will be ending after this. So we can put all this interface code inside a local variable function. So it's not only just to create a local variable and declare it, it can also contains the object that you will create, like a text field, integer field, whatever we will see that when we design an interface. Okay, so everything we can bring it inside this function, so that whatever variable we have used can be useful. Let me show you here. This is the interface that we created yesterday, right? If you see here, all those interface code, the section layout, the columns layout, text field, whatever the code we have written inside this local variable, right? That's the reason local emp that we have declared is available all of the places. Okay, so you can do like this as well. Okay, now this is the single text number that we have assigned to a variable. We can also declare a variable of type of an array. Okay, let's say local bang array1, and I'm going to declare as an array, then we need to use a curly braces. If we use a curly braces, then it will be treated as an array. Now let's say I'm going to have a number here, 1,2. Okay, now if I try to return this array, this variable, it will tell that it's a list of number integer. I used a comma, so it is a list of number integer. It has 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now same way, if I'm going to declare an array call array2, and here I'll say A, B, C, okay, and then I try to return this local array 2, and it will say it's a list of string. It has 3 items. It is a list of strings. Now what happens if I declare a local variable 3 and then I say 1 comma a a comma c. If I try to return this 3, then it will say that it is a list of variant. Why it's variant? Because the text that we have is a combination of number, integer, and then text as well. So it's a list of variant. So you can also declare an array with number, integer. You can also declare an array with this text, and you can also declare as a combination of all. Okay. So that's how we can declare variables and we can assign the values. Any question till here, guys? Okay. All right. Now let's say how do we do some if we need to do any calculation. So let's say I have declared local variable x here. Let's say I'm going to declare one local bank z, and I'm going to assign a value 20 to it. Okay, and if I want a addition of it, we can simply say local bank x plus local bank z. Okay, so if you do see any of the rule that we create, it must return something. It's behave like a function. If you don't return anything, it will start showing the error. So if you see that local x plus z, this is going to be a final statement, so it is going to return something, right? So if you click on the text tool, it is going to add your number. Okay, now let's say I would like to assign this addition to a variable called local bank sum. And if you try to now run this one, this will throw an error saying that you are getting this assigned to this one, but you are not returning anything. You should be returning something. So what we can do, we can simply say comma, and then we at the final we can say okay, finally return the variable called sum. If you return this, then you will get the result back. Okay, is that clear? Any question till here, guys? Okay, so this is how we simply declare the local variables. Now I mean this you may use rarely, it's not that much use, but yeah, if you need to do some calculation, you will be doing this local variable declaration. But yes, this will be required. Now let's go and learn some more advanced local variables. I mean not advanced variables, but data will be advanced, and how do we work with that data. I'm going to create another expression rule, sample array rule, data to work with array of data. Okay, so let's say I'm going to declare a local variable function, and I'm going to declare a variable here, local bank employee. Okay, and I'm going to declare this as an array, and also with an array we are trying to see that as a key value pair. So I'll say ID is 1 and name is Ram, age is let's say 32. Okay, now if you see this one, this is not just a simple array, this is a dictionary, right? If you try to return this employee, it will say that it's a dictionary which contains 3 fields: ID, name, and age, right? We can also make use of CDTs, but here if you want to declare a dictionary without an CDT, you can do that. You can simply have to provide the key value pair, just like the JSON format we do that. In JSON we provide the quotes on both of the sides, but in key and value if required. But in dictionary, Appian dictionary, we can simply mention the name, the parameter name, and then we can define the values. So this is a dictionary example, right? ID, name, and age. Got it? How do we declare a dictionary? Okay. Now, if I ask you from this dictionary, local employee, I would like to get the age. What do you think? How do we do that?
Maybe we can just put local bank employee dot age.
That is correct. So if I say dot age, it will return the value to me, 32. Okay. Now, if you would like to get the name, you can say dot name, and we can get the value. Right. So this is a single. Now, if I would like to declare this name, I would like to get the name, but data I'm going to have as a multiple. Right now, this is a single data. Now, let's say I would like to have one more array of array. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to declare this local employee. I just and then it says that one array, and just copy this. I'll put one more data. I'll just change the name here to Mohan 35. Okay, now if I try to return this local employee, the output would say that it's a dictionary. Definitely it's a dictionary, but it's now list of dictionaries. If you see here, it will say list of dictionary. Now it has two items, first item, second item, and each item has their own list. Okay, now if I say local employee dot age, what do you think, what could be the output?
35, 32 both. We'll probably get.
Yeah, we'll get both of them, 32 and 35, right? So this is how Appian dictionary also works, and then we can get the data. Now the question comes, what is the age of Mohan? Then how do we do that?
No idea.
So this is a list, right? Local employees having the list. What we can say, we can define the index here. I'll just pass 2 here, right? So I'm saying that local employee, but the second index of data, and then age. If I click on this tool now, we get the 35, right? But this is all the hard-coded thing. I'm just saying that how data can behave, how we can work it out. In Appian, the array index starts with 1, not from the 0. Okay, or in Java, it starts from the 0. But if you pass 0 here, it will throw the error message. Right? Invalid index. Valid range is from starting from 1 to 2. Okay, so remember this thing in Appian, the array index starts from the index 1. Okay, if I say 1, then I'll get 32. If I pass 2, then I'll get 35, the second index, right? Now, if we have, let's say, comma, I'll just pass 3 here, and then let's say, if I pass 3 now, then I'll get the age of the data that is available at the third index. Now, if I pass 4, what will happen?
It should throw an error.
So it will think that the valid range is 1 to 3, but you are trying to pass 4, which is wrong. Okay, got it? How do we work with the dictionaries? Now this all is the hard-coded way that we are seeing the data and then hard coding it and then saying that okay, this is the value is going to be. Now imagine this employee list is going to be in thousands, right? And then I pick a name or I pick ID, let's say 962. Then what is the age of the ID of the 962? Then how do we do that? We can't see the code and we cannot hard code it, right? Because that can be dynamic. Sometimes we may have to get the age of ID 962. Sometimes we may get the ID of 100. So that could be dynamic, right? So how do we bring the information based on some inputs? Let's say I have a list of thousands records, and then someone is giving me the ID, and based on that ID, they are saying that give me the age. So we need to calculate this thing. So for that, in Appian, we have a many functions that will help you to achieve that. Okay. All right. Now in Appian, we have a function called where contains. Okay. The where contains function is used to find the value that user is providing to you, and based on that, it will help you to find that index where it is available. Okay. Where contains functions require two parameters. the value that you want to search, and then the array where you want to search. Okay, all right. So now let's say I would like to search the value called Suresh. Okay, this is a value I would like to search, and where I would need to search, I need to search from the employees, right? So I'll say local bank employee. Now you tell me, if I say local bank employee, will it work? See, local bank employee is not just the name. Local bank employee is everything: ID, name, and age. But what we are trying to find, we are trying to find a name, right? So we also need to say that, okay, find this name Suresh and in the local bank employee dot name. Then only it will understand where it has to find, right? Now, if I click on test role, it's throwing the error saying that you are trying to find a text with an inside the any type, because this is returning the list of employees. It can be anything, right? Someone may have given some letter or something, right? So what we can do, we need to make this as a same pattern. So in Appian we have a function called toUniformString. ToUniformString will make your both of the inputs as the same. We are just casting it in the same pattern. Okay, so this is what I just did. I'm saying that the name that I'm providing and then where the area that we are searching for, please cast to the same format. So toUniformString, we have done that. Now if I click on the test tool, I'm getting it 3. Right, we got this thing. We do not have to calculate, isn't it? So now let's say we are going to assign this to a local variable. So I'll say local bank find index, and we have calculated this thing. Now if I say local bank employee, and in the bracket I would say local bank find index, isn't it? And then I say age. So instead of hard coding value here, what I did, I just calculated it based on the name given, right? If user will say the name as Suresh, I'll get the index, and that index I will use it here, and then I'll get the age. If I click on test tool now, see I'm getting it 38. Now instead of Suresh, if I say Ram, then I'll get it 32. Is that clear how it works?
So how can I get the name with the lowercase? So in the lowercase also it is Ram, right? So whether it will give the
Right?
yeah.
It doesn't match, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if you want to match the things, right? If you would like to get the name like do not want to apply the case sensitivity, right? So what we can do, we can apply a function called upper. Let's say I'm going to apply this function called upper here. What it will do, this upper function will make my input in upper, and here also I will apply the upper function. So what will happen now, my list, it is also going to return the all in uppercase, and then what I'm trying to search is also in uppercase. Now if I click on the test tool, I'm getting 32. Why? Because see the output of this one, let me first show you the output of this one. Can anyone guess what could be the output of this one?
Caps.
So we'll get all the names and all will be in capital, right?
But how did that match
See,
to uppercase R and lowercase a?
sorry, how did it match in?
No, but in our initial array, right, we have uppercase R and lowercase am, right? But your output that you're getting
No,
out of
that is what I'm doing. So if I'm applying this thing, let me tell you what is happening here.
oh, okay.
Just give
Okay,
it the
you got
pseudocode here. Got
it. You
it?
could do the
So
same
this,
as lower as well, right? It's just not
yeah,
upper.
you
We can
can, yeah,
okay.
you could do it in the lower as well. That's fine.
You're converting it and then you are searching it. Okay, makes sense.
Yes, I'm just trying to match the cases and then trying to search it. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? Doesn't matter your what's the data case is available in your system, and what you're trying to search. If that's not even match that, but we are matching it here, okay, make it in uppercase. Even if you want, you can go with the lowercase and you will get the data return back. Okay.
So tell me one more time about the two uniform string. Why are we using that?
It is just used to say, cast the data in the same format. So this is what returning me as a any type. It was a list of data, and here it was having a single data. So we are trying to match that. So otherwise it will the uniform the where contains functions break, saying that you can compare only similar type of data. So we are just making these two as a similar type. It is a text, it is also a text, but this is a list of text, and we don't know that it is going to be text always. Some may have junior 2 someone name is there, right? So that's the reason Appian doesn't understand. It's not confirmed that the name parameter is going to be text always. It can also contain the number integer. So that's the reason Appian says that, okay, where contains function need to compare two data and both should be the same type. So just to make sure that it is going to be same type, we are just applying the cast function like two uniform string to make it as a same, so that it can compare. Okay.
Do we have any documentation about this methods? Which method is belong to the particular variable? So what is the use of that method? So is there any documentation in Appian?
No documentation will tell you that where you want to use what. You need to remember by doing the practice, by using it. You can understand when you see. I mean, none of the technology will tell you that which function needs to be applied here. You need to understand that, right? You need to learn that. So all the functions are there, but it's on you. How do you practice, and then you will be able to come to know that, okay, here I need to use this particular function. Because logic, see, any coding methodology, right? They don't give the logic, and based on the logic, you need to apply the functions, right? So you need to learn this, which function could be used.
Okay.
But documentation, if you talk in Appian, all the documentations are available. We'll share the link, and we also share you some of the documentation that we created. But yeah, it's all on practice. That is why you have joined the training, right? Otherwise, why people will join the training? Because most of the things are already there on internet, right? Yeah. All right. So this is how we find that index. Now, this giving me the result, but this is not a proper way of using it. Why? Because sometimes what happens, like let's say, for example, we saw that, right? I'm trying to find a number or the name. Let's say I'm trying to find Mahesh here, and click on the test rule. We are getting a 0 items, which is Appian is handling now. Initial days, what was happening? If it was not matching, it was throwing an error saying that the 0 index is not available. Yeah. Okay. So now Appian has handled internally. Initially, it was breaking, but the proper way of using this is getting this result by using the index function. Okay, this is one of the rule method, and then other is called index function. This index function is so useful that you will be using through most of the time in your application development cycle. So index function requires 3 parameters, and if you want to know about it, you can see the description below given, but I'll tell you. So index function requires 3 parameters. The first parameter is the array, or you can say the data, which could be any type, and the second index is index at what position you want to find, and the third is the default. Okay, if I talk about the example, I'll say local bank employee. Okay, and then if I say the index, let's say what we are finding here, local find index, I'll pass it here, and then third parameter I'll say null, blank array. Can anyone tell me what could be the output of this one? Any guesses? So the value for this one is going to be, let's say I'm passing it Suresh. So the local find index is going to be 3, right? Because 1, 2, 3. So this is the third index. So this is going to be 3. I'll put as a comment. Right? For now, it is going to be 3. Based on the word we are searching it here, it is going to be 3. So what could be the output of this entire index?
Whole line, maybe. ID 3
Yeah.
names at least.
No, not why the 3 names. It will return you the whole line of this particular where this index is matching.
Yep, that's right.
Right? So it is giving you the dictionary at the 3rd index. So local employee is actually having all the data, but out of all this data, we are trying to find the index of 3rd. So 3rd. And now if I say here dot age, then we'll get the age. Okay, so this is a proper way of using the dictionary and using the index function to return the result. Okay, that clear? Now this index function is not limited to only this particular thing. Let me show you some more example of this index function. Now if I say index of local bank employee, and then I'll say here name, and then default parameter I'm returning null. Can anyone guess what could be the output?
All the lines.
It will return all the names available to the dictionary here. Okay, same way if I say index local bank employee, that we have seen this example, and if I pass 1, and then I'll say default array here. Now this default depends what value you want to return. I'll tell you why. Here I'm giving null, here I'm giving this curly braces, I'll tell you. But if I say local bank employee 1 and then this one, right? So what could be the output?
No, that line.
The first line, the first dictionary.
Yep.
Right? So the index function work in 2 ways. Either you provide the index, which index of data you want, and either you provide the attribute of that array, so what you want to return, right? So you can get both of the result by using this index function. Okay, now as I gave you this example dot age, now one of the best example, I mean best way of doing this is called index of index. Now can anyone tell me, if I would like, I don't want to use the dot operator, I would like to use index of index, how do we do that? What is the code I need to write? So if I go and write the code like this, index of local employee and local bank find index and then default array. So the output of this is going to be my 3rd dictionary, right? This is a 3rd dictionary, and now this particular output will become input for my 2nd index. Okay? So this is going to be my input for my parent index. All right, and then I'll say age. Make sense? So the output of this one is what? The entire dictionary, which I'm making as an input for my topmost index, and then I'm saying at age. If I click on text tool now, I'll get the result 38. So this is the best way and proper way of using this index function to get an output of 38.
Oh, you have given null here instead of
yes,
empty object?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Here, if I say this, you need to understand, even if you give an empty array, that is also fine. It will not break anything. It will not do any harm. It just, we need to understand what we are trying to return here. If we are, this index is going to return me the array, right? Here, this particular function was returning me the array, right? Entire dictionary. So if we are going to work with the dictionary, that's the reason I provided as a curly braces, because this represent a blank dictionary. If you pass null here also, this is also totally fine, no issue, right? It depends what you want to return the default. Now let's say, I'll give you one example. If I say index of local bank employee for array, okay, so what do you think, what could be the output?
0.
It says that list of variant 0 items. Okay. Now let me go like this. Null. You say it says null. Okay, we are returning null because this is the default value. Now if I go and I'll say hello world. Now if I click on test role, I'm getting the hello world. So that depends what you want to get in return if nothing is matching. So that depends on you, what you want to get it in return. If you want to work with an array, return the blank array. If you want to return with a null, then return the null. If you want to return any text, you can provide the text. So this is the default value which will get as an output if this particular thing is not finding anywhere into the system. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Clear now? All right. What else? Okay. Let me. So I hope this index function where contains an index function is clear to you guys. Now let's do something with the looping function. I'll say sample looping data. Let's create. I will use local variable function and let's say local bang array 1. I'd like to 1, 4, 3. Okay. So I have declared one list of number integer. If I try to return this one, I'll get an output, whatever the data I have, 142759. Okay. Now I would like to run with this data into an array. Like let's say I want to do something with this each element of this array, then we have a function called for each. For each is a looping function in Appian, which work with each item of your data. So it has two parameters. The first parameter is called items. Items, it means that what is the item you want to work with. Let's say I want to work with the item that is available into the array 1. And then we have an expression. What do you want to do with the each item that you have? So I would say for each item I would like to add +1. Just like the way we can declare a variable in Appian by using a local variable function, some of the Appian functions also has their in-house variables. When I say in-house variables, it means the variables that belongs to that function. If you want to know those variables, click inside this for each function. It will say in the expression, you can see that it has the following special variables are available: FB item, FB index, FB item count, FB identifier, this FB first, FB last, and the definition of this. So FB item, the current array item, FB index, the current item index, and the number of items available, the identifier. So all those things we can work it out. So those are the in-house variables for this particular function, which cannot be used outside. This is only especially for this particular function. So let's say I say FB bank item. When I say FB bank item, it means that each element of the array. If I try to click on the test role, I'll get the same output because I'm just returning the each element of this array 142759. It is iterating and it is returning me 2. If I go and say +1, can anyone tell me what could be the output?
25.
Yeah, that's it will do addition in each element. 1 + 1 2, 4 + 1 5, 2 + 1 3, 7 + 1 8, 5 + 1 6, and 9 + 1 10. Right? So this is what we are doing with the elements. We can iterate each element of an array and we can perform the expression whatever we want to do. It's not just it is going to work with only for the number integer. It can be work with any items. Right? The data can be any type. We will see the examples. How do we work? It can also be work with these arrays, dictionaries, anything. Right? Now, if if I say FB bank index, can anyone tell you what could be the output now? I'm saying FB atom plus FB index.
This index. It's still going to add 1, 2, 3.
So it will add 1 in 1, it will add 1 in 4, it will add 2.
Yeah.
In 2 it will add 3, right? Because the index is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The last it will add 6 to the 9. So if we click the output, we say it's 15 because the 9 plus 6 is the index. So each time it is iterating, it is also returning the index. When the 1 come in, the index was 1. When the 4 come in, the index was 2, right? So this is how the index also works. Likewise, we have FB total count. Total count is the if I say FB total count, item count. So item count is what? 6. If I click on the trace tool now, it will say 1 plus 6, 4 plus 6, 2 plus 6, 7 plus 6, 5 plus 6, 10 plus 6. Right? That's how the for each function works. As I said, it not only used for a number integer, it can be used for anything. It can also be worked for the dictionary as well. Okay, is that clear?
What does FV stand for?
Function variable.
Function variable. Okay.
Any question, guys? Any clarity required? We have many other functions. If you want to know about the functions, you can simply click this function here, right? And it will give the list of all the functions, right? Mathematical function, equal function, regular function, state function, text function. Okay, and any function, if you want to learn about it, just click on the function name, right? And inside that, it will have all the definition, what it does. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Any question? All right. Let's do some practice then. Yesterday we created a table, and that table was LMS underscore employee, I guess. Yeah. Right. So what is the best way of creating a CDT? Which option?
Creating from table.
Yeah, creating from database table or view. That will give you, you do not have to create the attributes manually. It will be there. You just have to do the camel caching. That's as a best practice. Okay. So let's talk about some of the best practice. The naming convention. We should provide a name of the rule or name of any variable, so that it can explain pretty well that what is the use of this particular rule or the variables, right? Appian also suggests to follow the best practice for the naming convention, that go with the camel casing. Okay, and for the rule names, we can go with the Pascal case. You can see that I'm just starting with the capital and then segregating with the capitals. So this is a Pascal case. We can also go with the camel casing as well. So this, which is fine, but variable names should also be always be in camel casing, which is always a good practice. Okay. Now
this rule will be used in the flow, or where it is exactly used, because we have an interface and we have CDT. Whenever we click, it will be stored in the database. So in where exactly will it fit?
So what we can do is that, let's say you have created one rule which is doing some calculation and returning the result, right? So we can create that as a separate expression rule, and we can call this rule to make it work. Okay, let's see an example of that one. Okay, we haven't seen the example of rule inputs. Okay, so let me show you that. Now this was the sample array data that we have worked on. I'll tell you the example of looping, the rule input here. So right now this Suresh is hard coded, right? If we reuse this rule, it will always be work with the Suresh, right? Because we cannot go and modify this rule always, right? First time Suresh, then if someone want to work with Mohan, then we cannot do that, right? Isn't it? Let me get a new rule. Get user, system. This is a rule input. So what is a rule input? First of all, the rule input is also a type of a variable which works, as a bridge, to just to pass information from one place to other place. So we can make use of rule input. All right, let me copy this data first. Okay, this is the data that I have, or you can bring this information from somewhere in the database or some whatever. Now, the requirement is that I would like to get an age of the based on the name. Okay, so what we can do, you can see there is a one more arrow icon here. Click on it, it will open the rule inputs window, and here I can say input name. Now, for local variable, we do not have to declare the type, but for rule input, we have to declare the type, that what kind of input variable you are going to create. So I'm going to create a variable called text type, because input name will be text. Now you can see that our window has been open here saying that input name. Now we have this code written. We can copy this code. Now instead of this name Suresh here, this hard coded name, what we can do is that we can say that make it dynamic and refer the rule input. And for referring the rule input, it's a shortcut RI, rule input, RI bang. And then once you start typing, you will get it, the suggestions what you want to know. All right, and then finally we can have the final code here, this index, put it here. Now we can pass Suresh here, or we can, let's say, pass Mohan. If I pass Mohan, I'll get the age of Mohan, 35. If I pass Ram, I'll get the age of Ram. If I pass Raju, I'll get nothing. Okay, now this is how we can make this rule as a dynamic. So whatever name we'll pass to this one, we'll get the output according to that. Okay, so this is not hard coded now. This is totally working as a dynamic rule. Now let's say this sample array2 I would like to call somewhere. I'll create a new rule, or maybe interface, or wherever you want to reuse this one. I'll say call another rule. This is all example I'm giving it. Okay, don't forget, mention the name. Why I'm just giving the name so that you can refer that how it works. Calling rule from a rule. Okay. First of all, is that clear of a rule input? What's the use of rule input now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the name of this rule is what? Sample array2. What I'll do here is that I do not need to declare any variable right now. I'll just say rule bang, the rule that we have created. So if you are going to refer any rule that a user has created, we can make use of rule bang. Okay, whenever you start typing rule bang, it means that you want to call a rule which is being developed by any developer. Okay, now if you go inside this parenthesis, it says input name. Remember we created this input name parameter, rule input there, which is what it is referring here. Now if I pass Ram here, I click on test rule, I'm getting this age, right? So this rule is now become reusable. If you use at the multiple place, you can call at a multiple place. Now what happens if you don't create this? Wherever you want to use this logic, everywhere you have to write the code. Now if you are making this code as a separate rule, it is allowing you to reuse it. So reusability is coming to the picture here, right? That we can get an output from a rule if you want to make it as a reusable, you can create as a separate tool. Otherwise, we have to write the code all the places. Got it? So if you would like to call this in an interface, you can call this in an interface. If you like to call in another expression role, you can do that. If you want to call it into the process model, you can do that. So this can be reusable at all the places. Is that clear now?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is how we use the local variables. Any question? Ask me. No? Shall we stop for today now?
So where we are currently as per the course content, like multiple content we have.
Oh, course content that we will complete during this training.
Okay, okay. So
We'll share with you guys. I mean, maybe group has not created yet, I believe. Then we can we create that, we'll share into the group. Okay.
yeah.
All right, guys. If no questions, we can wrap up today. We can connect tomorrow. All right.